Hello there, I'm Dominic St-Pierre, and you're listening to Go Podcast. This episode is a little bit different, so although it has nothing to do with Go, I think it could be a nice, a nice diversion for programmers and software engineers. For younger developers, it might be a good story to listen to, and for my older dev friends, then might remind you a couple of things that happens to you back in the day. So this story will take place 21 years ago actually, and it's still very vivid in my memory because it was kind of extremely scary, quote unquote. Before we start though, I'm about to launch my second course actually, which is called Build a Google Analytics in Go. So if you are curious or interested in that topic, this is a course where we are building a fully functional Google Analytics like application with Go, TypeScript, Postgres, Docker, and also ClickHouse. So ClickHouse is making a lot of noise lately, and it is just perfect for analytics tools like that. So this is a course that will be released soon. It will be released in pre-sale. So if you're interested, make sure you are on the newsletter to get the pre-sale discount. With that said, so let's transfer back 21 years ago, and I don't have the exact precise date of when this event occurred. I also tried to, bring my mentor, quote unquote, on this podcast as well. But it did not work, unfortunately. So where are we in the time? So again, I don't have the exact date. Let's say it would be September 2002. I am a junior developer at that time. I am working at a financial companies, but it's a tiny company. So 25 employees. We are 2 full-time software engineers in this company, and there's a lot of data, like you might imagine, of any financial companies also come often with lots of data. So our day-to-day is mostly focused on software development. We need to do anything, back in the days, especially in small companies like that. So remember, there's no cloud at this epoch. This time this time of our life, there's no cloud. So we were hosting our own server. We were doing the infrastructure, anything that needs to be done in terms of those kind of things. We are doing all the development. We are responsible of onboarding new employees, setting up their computers, installing their software. We are doing support for the employees, and sometime even for clients that are calling, that are using the software that the company is selling. So basically the company is selling a web-based intranet, so clients are paying to access a certain type of a web application. And let me rephrase that again. So we are hosting that locally. So yes, I remember that we had an open BSD, or it could be a free BSD server that was acting as the router firewall for the company. And I don't know exactly because, to be completely frank, I was I was decent with Linux and whatnot at the time, but not enough to really understood firewalls and whatnot in OpenBSD or FreeBSD. So that machine was there, and it was built by a consultant as well. So it was not a competency that was present in the company. But I mean, this thing was there in the corner on a super old, I don't know, a Pentium 1, probably 266 megahertz and whatnot. I mean, we are way we are far away back in the days. So this machine is there, it's doing its job, so nobody really need to care about that. And the networking is typical for that period of time, meaning that the internet connection is directly connected into this OpenBSD firewalls, and from there's another network interface that just send the data through to a switch in our office, and this is probably the biggest quoted words of this podcast episode. So imagine a room, I don't know, let's say 8 foot by 15 maybe, or even 12 foot, no window. There's 3 desks in there and some kind of shelves on the back. We are 2 full time, and there's sometimes once or twice per week there's another developer that is coming, that is, we are outsourcing some things. So I mean, and yeah, while talking about this room, so you have to remember that the cloud was not existing, but worse than that, I mean, people had the right to smoke inside building and offices at this time, and I am not a smoker, so my mentor, or let's call him Rock. So Rock was a smoker, and I mean, there's no window in the room. So anyways, that's a small parenthesis, but still, I mean, it kind of explain, it was rough. those days were very very intriguing, and the profession of software engineers was not really like it is today. So you were mostly like a programmer back then. And to be honest, it was kind of hard to find jobs, because there were not, companies were not building softwares as we are today. I mean, we are almost all companies are developing something these days. So there were a little bit less opportunity, but yeah, so suffice to say that we are inside this, let's call it the engineering room, but it has nothing sexy about it. So yes, like I was saying, so we are basically, our day to day is that we are building the software that needs to be that the company sells to the client and whatnot, and we are maintaining the database, all hosted locally, and there's an office of people working on internal tools that allows them to conduct some some inquiry and whatnot, contact the banks and whatnot, grab some data, fill some form and enter the data into the database. So what it means to do everything like that is like you might already guess, there is a lot of things that were done, in half or not done at all. And, one of those things is, first of all, there were no antivirus software in any of those servers and the employees' computer as well. So we are in a time and space where computer viruses are still, they are there, but I have yet to see one. I have yet to see what it is. So we are in a time where automatic updates of the OS might not be even a thing. So if I recall correctly, I think that the workstation were using Windows NT4 or something like that. I might be wrong. It's still very old, but the point is, there has to be some automatic Windows update, but you know how it is. They might not be turned on, or it might be waiting for the employees to reboot their machine, and they are kind of never doing that. So in a typical September afternoon, we are developing our software in good old classic ASP in our dirty office, and near 3 p.m. or whatever, 3:30 p.m. There's an employee that come into the office and says something like, "Oh, my computer keeps shutting down. I cannot work." All right, no problem. So it's part of the job. So I go check what is going on, boot the computer, start to do some work, and it automatically closed like that. And I'm like, that seems strange. What is going on here? And after, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 minutes, there's a second employee that says, "Oh, you know what? My computer is also shutting down." And as you might guess, inside of I would dare say 20 minutes, most of the computer in the companies were infected with some kind of viruses. I don't know what it is. I have checked Wikipedia this morning. I think it was like NIMDA or something of the code red viruses. But there's a lot of viruses in those years, those days. And employees, people were not really. So it propagated by an email. So it seems like from what the first employee says, it seems they received an email from a client actually with an attachment, and you know how it goes from here. Back in the days, people were not very afraid of attachment, and especially from a client. So imagine you are, I don't know, you are a 45 years old employees in 2002, and you have mostly never touched a computer in your life. So you're just basically using this tool to fill a database. So, boom, this happened near 3:30 p.m. So I would say at 4 p.m., most of the company were infected. So as soon as it started to spread, it's almost unrealistic how these happen, because now once there is one employee that is affected, it does itself. It was spreading like we could almost see it goes into our network. And at some point, I screamed something like, everybody, shut your computer now. So, but it was too late. More than 90% of the computer were infected. So how it does that, I don't know. It was sending email, it was copying itself to shared. I don't know. I just know that now we are at the end of the day. We are two software engineers that are faced with the companies with, I don't know, 22 employees that do not have a computer to work on the next day. That is the situation. So what do you do? So yes, we shut down all the computers, and we had no choice but to just reinstall. But how do you do that? I mean, you still need to be careful. So yes, we unplug all the network interface, all the network cable from everyone, formatted all the PCs, and reinstall Windows everywhere. But I mean, it sounds easy, but back in the day, it was kind of it was more frequent. I think people were formatting their computer. Heck, my mother knows what formatting a computer is, because back in that time, it was kind of required at, I don't know, each 2, 3, 4 years your computer started to be crappy. Windows was it's a little bit like that these days, but still, I mean, you know it when you have a Windows computer that is very old. Sometimes just reinstalling makes everything good again. But in that time, Windows 95, Windows 98, 2-3 years was kind of a maximum for that thing. So I mean, it was common, but still, it takes a long time to format a computer, reinstall from a CD, because it was not DVD at the time, right? So now, where is that Windows NT keys? It was extremely difficult. And the worst is that now you watch the time at some point, and it's like 10 p.m. and you have done, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 computer. They're still. So I'm not a coffee person. I remember I had to drink some coffees that night. We did not eat. It was brutal. And so yes, but it was at the same time very fun, because at some point we were just the two of us during a complete night trying to reformat. So as you can imagine, I mean, it was interesting, because once the computer is reformatting or reinstalling, I mean, you still have nothing to do. So you were jumping on the next computer and things like that. But still, at some point, you need to configure them. So that is what takes time, actually. So once it's installed, then you need to reinstall all the softwares that people are using, reconnect their Outlook Express application. So where are those passwords? This is crazy. This is just crazy. So everyone lost their data as well. So we were not able to do any kind of backup. It was mostly their bookmarks, but still, I mean, all the files that were there were lost as well. So yes, I mean, this is the story. Basically, it's the next day when people started to arrive at work near, I don't know, 8-9 a.m. We were not even there yet. I was extremely tired. I mean, as you can imagine. I remember that we completed at some point. I know that Rock, the other guy, he went home, and I stayed there until 11 a.m. Everything was completed, but I could not do my day for sure. Someone asked me to debrief them at some point, and I fall asleep during the conversation right in their face. So I mean, yes, it was interesting, and yes, it's a proof that small companies back then, it's not very different today, but it's just that today security is just a little bit more easier. I think it's by default. First of all, people are better educated about not clicking on any kind of attachment in their email and whatnot, but all sorts of security thing that were not there back in the days. But yes, it's a typical day of the early 2000 software engineer in a small companies. So I hope it was different than something. So it's a small story, of course, but yes. And again, if you are interested in my upcoming course, then make sure you subscribe to the newsletter. The link are in the show notes. All right, see you on the next episode.